Welcome to Rolling Conversations podcast with James and Sarah. And today we're going to talk about jiu-jitsu moves that are a waste of time.
Or so you think.
The first one, shrimping, hip escapes, elbow escapes.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. These are done typically like line drills and things like that. You know, we'll do some laps and then we'll get in, jiu-jitsu schools will get in lines and then they'll say, shrimp, elbow escape, hip escape, whatever. And then you see people flop down and just kind of push their feet and wiggle side to side.
Roll their eyes.
Roll their eyes. This is so silly. And, but it's actually a very important move in jiu-jitsu. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I think it's the most important move in jiu-jitsu personally. That's why I wanted to talk about it first.
So that everything else just seems like rubbish?
No, but it is very important.
And why is that, Coach James?
Well, funny you should ask. The shrimping and the hip escape, elbow escape, whatever, if you break it down and understand, like, it gets you out of so many bad positions. Any position that you're being dominated in on the bottom, it helps you get out of it. So when done properly, you keep a frame, you turn on a side, you post a knee, and you're essentially getting on a hip in a ball. It's a very good defensive position if somebody has mount, side mount, half guard, anything like that when they have a top dominant position, and it'll allow you to get out of there and defend. It'll open up opportunities for escapes, guard retention, sweeps, different things like that. Like shrimping is a fundamental necessity in defense for jiu-jitsu.
So would you say when in doubt, shrimp out?
When in doubt, shrimp out. I like that. And that should be a t-shirt.
Oh, but it is a t-shirt on the jiujitsuculture.com.
No, but it is very important. Like without elbow escape, shrimping.
It's an underrated movement. And I think it's because people don't, especially when you're new, when you've been doing it a while, you recognize that that's what you're doing.
Yeah. But
when you're new and you're going through and you're doing conditioning at the beginning of practice or warm-ups or whatever, I don't think that is necessarily translating into when you're just in survival mode in the beginning of jiu-jitsu. You don't realize that that's what you're doing to make space. Like, it's not in your head clicking that's exactly what you're doing,
Yeah.
So I think for new people, they're like, oh, these warm-ups are so stupid. They're not even related to jiu-jitsu. And then they watch a video of themselves, like, rolling, and they see it for the first time, and they're like, oh, I did a hip escape, coach. Well, yeah, you're creating muscle memory at the beginning of class.
I know. And it's weird because when you're on the outside coaching someone, and it's like when you see someone get their guard passed and they get mounted, get on a hip, put up a frame, start pushing on the knee, start bumping them up. We're essentially telling you step by step how to shrimp, essentially, instead of saying shrimp out, hip escape, elbow escape. But for whatever reason, when you're coaching beginners, we break it down into get on a hip, get on a hip, get on a hip, So when in doubt, shrimp it out.
Shrimp out.
The second jiu-jitsu move that you think is a waste of time, front rolls.
And do you want to tell us why?
Front rolls are really good because, especially when you start standing and you start going, and I know everyone's thinking, well, when we start on our feet and I get taken down, I'm getting taken down. Getting taken down, break fall, easy. But when you get to higher levels of competition, more advanced takedowns, and when you start incorporating judo into that.
And maybe like berimbolos.
And Barambolos, yeah.
Because you're only cool if you do Barambolos.
Yeah, yeah. And
Which is why I'm not cool, kids. No Barambolos here. Broke my finger.
But
This one.
which one?
This one.
Nice.
No more Barambolos for me.
But when you start getting hip tossed, when you start getting over the shoulder throws, shoulder whips, different kind of lateral drops in wrestling, knowing how to front roll is going to protect you and keep you from getting hurt when you're on your feet, for one. And for two, when you're grappling and someone gets turtle position, you know, in wrestling they call it a Granby. It's a front roll with a twist, essentially. But the same thing. It's a defensive position that when you get down in turtle position, if you don't know what to do and you're just sitting there turtle, and a lot of people freeze, just front roll.
Or sit out.
Sit out. We'll get there. But yeah, front roll. Another move that I know whenever we're doing warm-ups in class and coach says, all right, give me 2 front rolls, I just see it in everybody's face. And they just go through the motions and they're like, oh.
Well, because most of the time adults newer to jiu-jitsu are like, why am I doing somersaults? I'm not at summer camp. Like, this isn't
Taekwondo
recess. Yeah, they're like, why am I doing somersaults? And then you like have to have that conversation of, you're not rolling over your head, like, and explain the actual mechanics of the front roll.
Yeah.
But you know, it is pretty funny. Not ha-ha, okay. It's ha-ha funny. It's definitely ha-ha. When you see grown men coming in there for the first time or like their first week and they're doing front rolls and like it's a legitimate hard somersault where the feet slap really hard at the end on the mat, and then you have to go, all right, man, I feel really bad for you. Come here, this is what we're gonna do.
It's like they're trying to do a front flip into a pool or something. They're like, they stand and jump. But it is a good move to control your body in a throwing position and an escape position. It's a great move, one that shouldn't be taken lightly or for granted.
I agree.
Number 3, the third BJJ warm-up or move that you think is a waste of time.
I don't know if they think it's a waste of time anymore because every freaking person slap bump and sits on their ass.
Yeah.
Like they're taking a page out of freaking Gordon Ryan's playbook and they just sit down on their ass straight away.
But number 3, butt scoots.
I feel a certain type of way about that.
So butt scoots, forward butt scoots, back butt scoots are a great warm-up that a lot of people feel silly doing when you're sitting up and rocking and kicking
going
your feet.
forward for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
You know, and it's like they feel silly doing it. They feel like it's a waste of time. Like, how does this incorporate jiu-jitsu? And all I have to say is butterfly guard. If you want to do any kind of successful butterfly guard or any kind of seated open guards, especially in no-gi, you better know how to butt scoot, and you better know how to butt scoot forward, backward, left, right, you know, at an angle, whatever. Butt scooting is another fundamental movement of jiu-jitsu.
Also slap bump, sit down.
Slap, bump, sit down.
And then just butt scoot at your partner or your opponent.
Yeah.
We saw so much of it at ADCC yesterday. Slap bump, sit down. I'm like, what the hell? Nobody learns takedowns anymore.
No. All right. Number 4, the next one that everybody thinks is a waste of time during warm-ups in jiu-jitsu, sit-throughs, sit-outs, breakdancing, whatever you want to call them.
Parkour.
It's a great, it's a drill that I think I first saw it in wrestling, or I was first exposed to it in wrestling, is kind of when you're in the turtle position, and like if you know wrestling and you're in referee's position, or if turtle north-south, it's a great way to get out of that bottom position, turn a quarter, and start wrestling to take someone's back. Or if you go for a shot and someone sprawls on you and you end up down, I see it all too often where guys they'll shoot, the other person will sprawl, and then they're just plowing their heads into the mat, their butt's kind of in the air, and they're just reaching for that leg rather than sitting out, turning a corner and getting a single leg or taking the back or something like that. Or when guys are rolling, a lot of times someone will pass your guard and you'll try and get an underhook and chase them as they're passing their guard, and they keep spinning around north-south all the way to the side. Next thing you know, you're in turtle. And then guys get in turtle and they just sit in turtle like, oh shit, what do I do? As soon as you hit turtle, sit out, turn around. It's a great movement in jiu-jitsu to getting out of a bad position. Not just getting out of a bad position, but a failed shot, a failed attempt, or your guard gets passed and you're in a weird transition scramble, you know?
Yeah. Or if you just want to get some like ripped abs, just do sit outs all day long.
Yeah. So those are our top 4 jiu-jitsu moves that you think are a waste of time, but really serve a purpose in jiu-jitsu. If you have any more moves that you think are a waste of time that you'd like us to break down and explain them to you, put them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.